what's the difference between a good academic coach and a great academic coach? That's what we're going to talk about in this video, and specifically 3 skills that are easy to practice that will take you from good to great in your work with students. Let's dig in. So first of all, let's talk about what I mean by academic coach. Because do I actually mean that the tips I'm about to provide help you be better at working one-to-one with students on their study skills and time management and organization? Yes, I do mean that. But I also consider any educator has potential to be an academic coach if you get good at these 3 skills we're going to talk about. This could be classroom teachers, this can be school counselors, parents, this could be you even. If you have a little suspicion that just teaching, just telling students isn't quite working to help them build their academic confidence and competence, then I invite you to take on these 3 skills and just consider yourself an academic coach in the making, okay? All right, first I want to show you this little infinity loop because there are 2 specific actions that I think I don't know how to, okay. It flips the image and I don't know how to look, and anyway, there are 2 specific actions that really good coaches know how to move between, titrate between, loop between. And I want to start with these 2 skills because if you don't have time to watch the whole video, though you should, this would be a really good takeaway for you. So the first one is we need to get good at doing things in our own lives, doing things alongside students. So the doing of things is part of good teaching and coaching. But what takes you from good to great is if you do the second thing. And that is, aren't you excited to find out this? That is the ability to notice about what it was like to do the thing you just did. We do something, then we notice about it. We do something, and then we notice about it. And I find that most educators either do a lot of doing without a lot of noticing, or vice versa, especially people who've been trained as life coaches for students do a lot of noticing, but not a lot of doing. And so really good teaching and coaching is in the infinity space between these 2 actions. So we're going to use this as a lens to talk about the 3 skills that I think take somebody from good to great as far as coaching is concerned. The first thing, and that we have some don'ts and some do's here. Wait, I didn't have this in the right order. Cancel this, cancel this, cancel this. All right, so now we're going to use this infinity loop as the lens through which we're going to look at 3 do's and don'ts that take someone from being a good coach to a great coach, no matter what kind of educator you are. The first one, let's start with the don't. Don't teach a habit or skill you haven't tried yourself. It is a huge piece of my training for educators that you don't just learn about how a student can study, take notes, manage time, but you practice all the tools in your own life. So that's the do. You do try out academic skills and you notice what they're like for you. That's why I want you trying them out, because students can smell inauthenticity, right? They can smell inauthenticity. So when you are trying on a skill in your own life, that is the doing piece. And then you get to notice about it. Notice, did I like that thing, that note-taking thing? Did I like honing my notes? Did I have resistance to doing that thing? Did I still procrastinate the way students do? And I find that a lot of educators actually do a lot of teaching without actually doing the things that they've assigned. How many teachers have actually written the essay that they are assigning students to write? So I think this is really important. The more that you can do the infinity loop between doing and noticing the skills that you teach, the more you have empathy for what it's actually like to follow the directions in the first place. And that empathy goes a long way for students, because remember, they can smell inauthenticity, and that means that they also really respect and respond to authenticity, which includes real world stories about you having tried on in your own body, in your own mind, the tools that you're teaching. Okay, skill number 2 that takes you from a good academic coach to a great one. Don't teach students too much. Something that I've noticed amongst educators who join my program is they get really excited about all of the brain science that I teach them to teach students, and then they just want to share it all with students. But there's not a faster way to turn off a student's willingness to pay attention than overfilling them past their capacity to take in information. So the do, which is something we practice a lot in my anti-boring ed workshops and training calls, is that we do practice teaching the least students need to know. I'm constantly cutting. What else don't they need to know so that they take action on the thing that's most important? And I find that many educators need to build their muscle on this, figuring out what's the least a student needs to know that's going to contribute to their lives. And again, the practice of teaching the least a student needs to know moves in this infinity circle, because you teach a little something to the student, that's the doing, and then you notice, how did that land? Did it overwhelm the student? If so, what could I have cut out with my next client or with my next group of students? What might I teach less of in order to get them to really do more of? So it's this beautiful, beautiful loop of the lifelong learner, right? To do and notice. And so we want to model that in our own practices also, so that students can learn this infinity loop by osmosis. Speaking of which, we have a third skill that'll take you from being a good coach to a great coach, and it is this: don't simply teach or coach students. I mean, you can do this. You can learn a lot of great teaching and coaching skills, and then you can use them with your students, and you're good. You're a good academic coach. But remember, we're trying to help students integrate these habits into their systems for the rest of their lives. And in order to do that, it is a truly highly advanced academic coaching skill to make the mechanisms of teaching and learning visible to students. So what this looks like in one-to-one coaching for me is I often, towards the end of a session, say, hey, what was valuable? What did I do today that was helpful for you? And the student will answer. And then I'll say, oh, great. How can you do that for yourself now? Because it's not about me being a great coach for you and then making you dependent on me. Instead, it's actually about you noticing how I model excellent teaching and learning, and you can become a better teacher to yourself and a better learner if we unpack what I'm doing and help translate it to you. So this takes some fine-tuning, this skill of learning how to pause, and in the moment when you are teaching, how not just to teach a skill or how not just to coach a student through creating a time management plan for the week, but how to help them notice what's working, what's not working. What am I doing that they can start doing? What do they still need me to do because they're not quite ready to take it on, which is okay because we learn in increments. And so it's a skill to practice that pause and to learn how to make visible the mechanisms of good teaching and learning. But here's the key: make it visible without teaching too much, right? Little 30-second breaks or 2-minute reflection is all that it really takes, but it's a muscle. It's a muscle. And it's a muscle of moving through the do and notice infinity loop. So, what can you do with this? Are you an educator who actually would like to get good at these sorts of things? Then I have a suggestion for you. The first suggestion is to let me model these skills for you in my own materials. I have a free way for you to catch a glimpse of how I take the least you need to know around study skills and then model it out for students and educators. And you'll find that at gretchenwegner.com/study. That's where I would start if I were you. And there's always the opportunity to join us inside my Anti-Boring Educators Club, where we together during really fun community calls, we get to practice all these skills alongside each other and model them for each other. It's a rich and exciting learning experience. But maybe your first step could be to just go grab that free tool and see what you can learn from that. Oh, and pretty please like this video if there was anything of value, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Ask a question or tell us what your biggest takeaway is. Maybe tell us a skill which one of these skills you'd like to work on. Just comment that below. I'd really appreciate it. Take care. See you in the next video.